Have you ever thought about what you would do to stay alive? I once heard a story about a young miller's daughter who was given an impossible task. She had to turn straw into gold. If she failed, she would die. Then, in the middle of the night, a strange, ugly little man appeared and offered her a way out. All she had to do was make a deal. A terrible deal. The kind of deal that seems a good idea when your life is in danger, but comes back and haunts you. I know what I would do. I'd take the deal. Would you? The girl's father was a miller. He was a hard-working man, but he had one weakness. He loved to boast. Each time he told a story, it grew larger and larger. One day, while talking in the town, he made a foolish claim. Yes. My daughter can spin straw into gold. Unfortunately, one of the king's servants heard him. King Leopold was a cheerful man with a loud laugh and an endless love for gold. When he heard the story, his eyes lit up. Bring her to me. Before sunset, soldiers arrived at the mill and took the frightened girl to the castle. That night, the king led her into the cold stone room, filled from floor to ceiling with straw. He spread out his arms and smiled. By sunset, all of this must be gold. Then the smile disappeared. If not, you will die. The heavy door closed behind him, and the girl stared at the mountains of straw. Oh, I can't do this. What should I do? The night passed slowly, and the pale moon streamed through the narrow window. The girl lay on the floor, crying quietly, when she suddenly noticed a strange shadow moving across the stone floor. She looked up. A small, stout man was squeezing himself between the iron bars of the window. He wore a grubby coat with silver buttons, and his sharp, dark eyes sparkled in the candlelight. He smiled, but it was not a friendly smile.
Good evening. I believe you need some help.
The little man looked around the room at the piles of straw. Then he smiled.
Let's make a deal.
What kind of deal? The little man pointed to the ring on her finger.
What is that worth to you?
The girl looked down. It was a simple silver ring. My father gave it to me on my 16th birthday.
Then it must be worth a great deal.
The little man held out his hand.
me the ring, and by sunrise, every piece of straw in this room will be gold.
The girl hesitated. The ring was precious to her, but not as precious as her life. Slowly, she slipped it from her finger and placed it on his hands.
Excellent.
The spinning wheel rattled and hummed and whizzed. Straw became thread, thread became gold, and by sunrise, the room glittered like a treasure. King Leopold was delighted. He laughed, clapped his hands, and ran his fingers through the golden thread.
Ha ha! You've done it!
For a moment, the girl thought she was free. She was wrong. The king's smile grew wider.
Well, if she can fill one room with gold, she can fill two.
He led her to a second room. It was larger than the first. There was more straw, far more. The king pointed at it.
You must do it again.
The heavy door slammed shut. The girl sank to the floor. A few hours later, she heard a familiar voice.
Good evening.
He smiled.
Shall we make another deal?
The girl's heart sank. Oh, what do you want this time? The little man's eyes moved to the necklace round the girl's neck. The girl touched it instinctively. It had belonged to her mother.
It must be very valuable.
No, it's not valuable to anyone but me. You see, it was the last thing my mother gave to me before she died. The little man's eyes shone even brighter. For some reason, this seemed to excite him.
Oh, very precious indeed.
He held out his hand. The girl was shocked and horrified by him. She hesitated, then looked at the mountains of straw. Slowly, she removed the necklace. The little man took it and laughed with an ugly joy.
A pleasure doing business with you.
Again, the spinning wheel rattled through the night. Again, the straw became gold. And again, King Leopold was delighted. But this time, the girl saw something had changed. The king was not amazed. He had become greedy. The more gold he saw, the more and more gold he wanted. He ordered the girl to follow him down the corridor and into the next room. It was larger than the other two combined, and straw filled every corner. The king pointed to it.
By sunrise, all of this must be gold.
If you can do it, I will take your hand in marriage, and you will be my queen. If you fail, I will take your head. Gods!" The door slammed shut. The girl stared across the room in horror. Then she heard the familiar voice again, behind her. The little man was already there, waiting. He smiled.
You have no ring. You have no necklace. So,
He folded his arms.
let's make one final deal.
Years later, the miller's daughter would not remember those days. That terrible night, and that horrible little man. She was now queen, and she had everything she had ever wished for. Warm rooms, beautiful clothes, fine food. She and the king had grown to love each other deeply. Then a son was born. It was the happiest day of her life. As she held the baby in her arms, she felt a joy she had never known before. And yet, there was a small worry in the back of her mind, a feeling she could not quite explain, like an itch she could not scratch, like a shadow she could not escape. Perhaps all mothers worry about their children. Perhaps that was all it was. The little boy grew strong and healthy. Then, on the night of his first birthday, the queen looked across the nursery and froze. There was a dark figure standing outside the window, watching with beady eyes. The queen's blood turned cold. She knew that face, those sharp eyes, that horrible smile full of dirty teeth. Then he slowly tapped on the glass. Tap, tap, tap. He climbed through the window and into the nursery. The queen stood protectively in front of her son. You!
Good evening, Your Majesty.
The queen looked down at her precious child. What do you want? The little man's smile widened.
You know what I want.
The room fell silent. At last, the queen whispered, "Please, no. I will give you gold. All the gold you want." He laughed. "Jewels! I have jewels. You can have them." The little man shook his head. "Land, horses, servants, anything. Anything you can think of."
No! I want the most precious thing.
In the blink of an eye, the baby disappeared from the basket. It was in his arms. The queen screamed and began to cry. No, please don't take him. The little man watched her for a moment. Then a strange expression crossed his face.
Perhaps we can make one last deal.
The queen looked up. A deal? Oh, yes, anything. The little man nodded.
I like games.
A smile slowly spread across his face.
You have 3 days and 3 guesses.
To do what?
To guess my name.
The queen stared at him. If I guess correctly?
You keep the child.
And if I fail? The little man returned the baby to the cradle.
I will take the child forever, but I will also take you, your joy, your soul.
With that, he disappeared into the darkness. For 3 days, the queen searched desperately to discover the little man's name. She sent her messengers across the kingdom. Every day, they returned with hundreds of names. William, Jimmy, Henry. But which one was his true name? How could she know? By the 3rd day, the queen had lost all hope. Then, just before sunset, one final messenger arrived. His clothes were torn and muddy. The queen listened carefully. I became lost deep in the forest. As night fell, I noticed the glow of a fire between the trees. I crept closer, and there, standing in the flames, was a small, strange little man. He had a long nose, dark eyes, and crooked teeth. That's him! That's him! The little man was drunk. He was dancing and jumping and singing around the fire.
Round, round the fire I spin. The queen doesn't know what trouble she's in. I'll take her babe and drink her soul in. For I am Rumpelstiltskin. Ha!
The queen felt her heart leap. That evening, the little man returned. He looked pleased with himself.
Well, what is my name?
The queen pretended to think. William?
No.
Jimmy?
No.
His grin grew wider.
No.
The queen smiled.
Huh?
For the first time, the little man's smile disappeared.
Huh?
For the first time, it was he who felt nervous. She looked directly into his eyes. Your name is Rumpelstiltskin. The smile vanished from his face. For a moment, he simply stared at her, quiet. Then came a long, furious scream. A scream so loud that it echoed through the entire castle. He turned red with rage, then purple. He clawed at his face. He tore his clothes. He stamped so hard that the floor cracked beneath him. The queen watched in horror as the little man began to tear himself apart. Then, something even stranger started happening. The more he screamed, the smaller he became. Smaller and smaller. His rage consumed him, until at last there was nothing left of Rumpelstiltskin but a pile of dust. And the queen sat in the silent moonlight, holding her son tightly in her arms.